Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is Lily Loves Learning, and today we are going to go over a review of Essentials in Writing Level 3. So this is what we used for my daughter's 4th grade year for writing. So let's get started. So we used Essentials in Writing, and I went with a level 3 for her 4th grade year because it focused on paragraph writing. And so I wanted to give you a little bit of a review about the curriculum, what's covered in level 3, and then why we really like this curriculum. So we chose level 3. It shows here recommended ages 8 to 9. My daughter was 9 when she started that. So let's go learn more about level 3. Level 3 includes both grammar and writing. So the first half of the year is supposed to be grammar. Second half of the year is writing. There are some curriculum options that people have put together that balance between the two. So you do some grammar, then some writing, back to grammar and then writing, so that you're not just doing one or the other for a significant period of time. It includes 18 months for the video lessons, and then free renewals if you need to continue on for maybe a different student, or if it's taking you a little longer to finish up that specific level. It includes, we did the online version, so the online did have a student book and the teacher handbook, and then those video lessons as well. It gives you some alternative instructional strategies if you need those. And then an additional purchase, which we did not do, are assessments. So you can get assessments as well. And then if you want the print version, you can get that as well. That will be then a physical copy sent to you. So if we go down and go to a sample of the program, you can see a sample video. Each of the videos are usually around like 5 to 8 minutes, I would say. And then in here, you can see for the first half of the year, it includes some grammar. So this is the Unit 1. And then Unit 2 is the composition. So again, we did not do the curriculum for grammar. We only did it for writing. So if you need a grammar program, this is a great opportunity to utilize what has been completed for Essentials in Writing. And it also includes video lessons. So you can get those same video lessons for the grammar subjects as well. And then it concludes with a research project. So I will start with one main reason that we really, really liked this program, and that is the videos. So having a video lesson was great. It walks the student through each of the steps for writing. So there is a brainstorming, how you brainstorm, how you can come up with a topic, helps you organize that brainstorming to try to maybe narrow down your scope of what you're going to choose for your writing. Then the draft. Next, revising that draft and how you can revise it, what sort of areas you can focus on to try to improve your writing. And then finally coming up with that final draft. So it's nice to have some videos walk through that process. Secondly, the videos are not a significant length for each one. So each day, each lesson, the videos are not extensive, so it can help keep the focus for that amount of time for your student. And then they can get right into the writing portion after that video. So especially at this, I would say, earlier age in elementary school, it can be a lot easier to get the writing completed and have the student actually learn when they have short videos that are really helpful, break up the process steps, and then to go right into the practice of that writing without having to wait through a significant video length. Secondly, the main reason that we really, really liked this program is it broke up the different paragraph styles. So there is a general paragraph practice in the beginning after you learn the writing process. Then there's an expository paragraph, a persuasive paragraph, a descriptive paragraph, and an imaginative narrative. So having those different types of paragraph styles can be extremely helpful to teach your student how you can write for different reasons. So here's the reason you might write this way, and this is how you can complete that writing type. And then lastly, having a research project. So now the student is choosing their own topics, getting information about, so for this one, it was your state. So learning about your state, learning different areas to study within your state, and going through that process along with the writing was great to encapsulate all of the learning that they did. So that's kind of the second reason that we really liked this program. So teaching the different writing types and different reasons for conducting writing at a paragraph level. So you can start it early without having to go through an entire essay with the student. And so number 3, one of the other reasons I really liked this program is I saw significant improvement in my daughter's writing. We focused on, in 3rd grade, really writing sentences well, getting descriptive sentences, writing sentences of different lengths, different openings to the sentence, how to include quite a bit of information, how to combine multiple sentences into one. That was the big focus for 3rd grade. So moving now to paragraph writing helped this process tremendously. And I saw a significant improvement from what she used to write for her paragraphs to what she wrote and developed by the end of this program. And it was just half of the year. So this, since it was just, the writing section and not the grammar, we did this on like the second half of the year. And so within 4 months, I saw significant improvement in that. And I felt comfortable, along with her, to move on to level 5 for 5th grade. So we're not going to be doing level 4. We're going to move into level 5 because she was really comfortable with writing and her writing style. And we looked at the topics for level 4 versus 5 and felt comfortable moving up to that level 5. So let's show you. So those, again, are the kind of main reasons that I really liked this program. And I think it could be beneficial, especially for students that you don't want to have sit for significant periods of time writing. Being able to go and look at a short video that provides the necessary information, walks the student through the process, and then gets them right into that writing. So I'll go down to the writing sections in this sample so you can see it. Once I can find those lessons. All right. Okay. So let me go to the beginning. Yes. Okay. So this is really helpful for an example sample because it shows you one of these types of paragraphs that they're writing and each of the steps that they break those into. So this one is the expository personal letter. So it gives you what the letter requires, what 5 parts does it need to contain, and then what goes into each of those 5 parts. And then the next lesson. So that's one lesson, learning about what's included in those letters. And then the next lesson goes into now organizing and brainstorming your ideas. So you've taken your ideas that you've brainstormed and you determine what is going to be the topic you're going to cover and what opening to that letter will contain. Then it will show you the details. And then lastly, closing out that topic. Then the next lesson, you will draft your letter with the information that you had in your organizing. And then your next lesson would be revising it. So it's showing you in revising what you can do. You can look for ways to add descriptive adjectives and action verbs to your writing. So you have everything written down. It's nice for them to have that visual draft, and then just focusing on key areas for ways that they can improve it. Maybe it's combining some sentences. Maybe it's adding in, so we've developed sentences, the year before. How can I improve it by maybe having opening to that sentence? Adding some description to the things that I'm discussing in each of those sentences. And then they have them read the draft out loud and look at each of the words to see if there's any areas that they think they could add details to. And then also to make sure it sounds good for what they've completed for their assignments. And then they check each of those things to say, hey, have I, checked for spelling? Do I need to revise any specific words? Have I revised some of my sentences to add those details? And helps them walk through that process. And then there's a lesson between these two, but then the lesson after that would be going and creating that final draft of the letter. And again, each of those are different lessons. So it's not requiring the student to do all of those things at one time. If you think your student can handle more than one lesson, you can do 2 lessons in a day, but it makes it so that it can break it up, and maybe they do one paragraph for that week, but they break up the steps each day to have something that they're brainstorming at the beginning of the week and have that final draft at the end of the week. So that is the curriculum. Let me know if you have used this curriculum before down below, or if you have any specific questions about anything else that we really liked about this curriculum, and I will answer that. So that's kind of our general summary. I'm going to show you a couple of additional things that are included, but I wanted to make sure to get our main thoughts out first for you. So there is another resource that we didn't use that you can see a sample of here. That's the assessment. A lot of the assessment can also include the grammar section as well. So you can see in here, it could test for the areas that are focusing on the grammar and punctuation. So if you do use that portion, I feel like the assessments are very helpful, because that is one of the key areas that you would want to have your student understand and can test on. So those are some of the assessments. They have assessments for writing. I felt I didn't need it for writing because we are reviewing the writing samples from each of the lessons. So I didn't really need to do an assessment of that, but I feel like if we were using it for grammar, that we would want those assessments. There is also a sample plan. So you can see how these are broken up for the school year. I mentioned that normally they do the grammar all up front, and then if we get farther down to the second half of the year, so not until week 21 do you start the writing process. I know a lot of people can find that doing all of the writing together is a lot, and they want to get that started earlier. So there are some, I think, Facebook pages where other people have put together lesson plans for combining the two and merging them so that you're doing grammar and writing together, and you're just trading off between the two areas. And then lastly, as I mentioned, we didn't use this as well, but it is something that they offer. So if you need alternative instructional strategies, that is included in the curriculum when you purchase them. So it will show you how are some of the ways that you could teach this material to your student if maybe they're not grasping it, they need a little bit more information, more details than what is provided maybe just in the video. They give you instructions and helpful tips on what you can do for each of those lessons. So I find that is helpful, especially if there's students that, different learning styles, maybe you have multiple ages that you're using this for, and one of them needs more support than maybe the other. It's helpful to have that included with their curriculum. And again, if you want to, you can watch and sample their video. The other nice thing they have is within each level, they can then show you levels up, one above and one below, in case this area, maybe the items that are covered in this one don't seem to fit quite right. You can move up to the next level. They also have in here a placement. Yeah, so there is a placement tool. So if you want to just look and see the things that are covered in each of the levels, you can look. So like for me, one of the things I looked at when I was deciding between if I wanted to skip level 4 or not was you can compare the levels. So it'll show you, for this one, it's 4, 5, and 6. So you may have to, like if you were looking at 3 and 4, you'd have to combine those two different quick reference guides. But in here, it will give you the information for what's covered in the grammar section. And then these ones that are highlighted, it's for direct instruction introduced at this level. So the independent and dependent clauses weren't provided direct instruction for any of the prior levels. It wasn't until level 4. So if that's something that you want to cover, then you would want to make sure to at least start with level 4. And then if you go down to the composition section, this is where we mostly focused ours on and looked at, well, what was covered in level 4 for writing? And did we feel comfortable enough with being able to move into level 5 directly with where we were ending with level 3? So we are moving to level 5 for this school year. But this is a really handy way to visualize between the different levels, what's included, and then when does that topic get discussed. But also, there is a placement tool. So if you want to use this to try to figure out maybe what grade you think or what level you think you should start with for it, it'll give you a starting point. So let's say I'm starting in 5th grade. You can walk through each of these questions, and then that will tell you if they think you should stay at that level, move forward one level, or maybe start one level back. So it's very helpful. You can also contact them if you have any questions. And I think that's about all that I had. I really wanted to cover this because this was one of our favorite curriculums last school year, and I think was very beneficial. My daughter actually liked it. I found it helpful for significantly improving her writing last year, and she feels more confident in her writing, which is also beneficial. So I wanted to bring this up and kind of show you and explain why we really liked it. If you have any questions that you want to ask, let me know down below. I will be happy to provide anything, that I have learned from this curriculum. And then I have another video if you want to kind of see some of these other resources, how to navigate the website, what's offered, and kind of some of these extra things that are covered. I went over that in the other video, so I'll link that at the end of this video. And thank you for joining me, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.